Hello, my name's Andrew MacPherson. I'm the Medical Affairs Veterinarian for IDEXX here in New Zealand. I'm just going to give a short talk on trace elements. It's called It's Elementary and it's about sample recommendations. So the recommendations for serum sampling, we recommend the 10 ml red top tubes. Fill those as much as possible, and there is actually a manufacturer's little little dot on the label. A 10 ml tube needs to be filled fairly much to the top. We recommend inverting that a few times, 10 times gently. Keep that upright for 20 to 30 minutes at room temperature for that clot to form. So ideally in your car, in your chili bin without an ice pack. Once that serum is separated, keep it cool before sending it to the lab in the fridge, and then send it to the lab with an ice pack. And send as much sample as possible. And if you get a situation where you haven't got enough in one tube, try and get another tube. It won't damage, it won't be detrimental to the animal at all, but if you've got a number of trace elements that you need testing, and possibly with the disease testing added on, better to send in 2 tubes. And please indicate the order of priority that you'd like those tests done, just in case, for instance, an animal is not cooperating and you can't get enough sample, but you'd like 3 or 4 done, please list those in the priority order that you'd want the tests given back to you. Now I've just got an example of the different kinds of clots that can form. This is a 10 ml red top tube, and as you can see, these are quite well filled, but the clot formation varies quite considerably, and you could lose possibly up to half or even more of that sample in clot, which leaves a lot less serum for the lab to sample. So these are the sample volumes that the lab really require in order to give you maximum results from your sample. And I've listed the common ones that you require: copper, selenium, possibly zinc, and they all require 1 ml of serum. Now, if you're using an EDTA tube and you want selenium, they still require 1 ml. Now, underneath those are the other trace elements like iodine, B12, glutathione peroxidase, magnesium, calcium, and peroxidase for copper. They require less, 0.5 to 0.1 ml. But if you're doing a number of tests and you require those to all be done, it's better that you give us as much sample as possible. And here's a sample that came through the lab, and if you don't know, this is not enough sample. This is too small in order to do a wide range of tests, trace elements, and if you're adding on disease testing as well, this would be insufficient. So it's a really good idea if you can supply as much in that 10 ml red top tube as possible. I just want to talk briefly about liver samples. If you're using the TrueCut biopsy needles, they come in a 14 gauge by 4.5 or 6 inches. It's American, so we've got the inches there. So the sample should be fresh or preferably on ice, and as much sample as possible. Now, if you are doing a liver sample, you obviously want copper and B12 because they're the best to be getting a result from liver. But if you haven't got enough liver, you could send them a serum with selenium, asking for selenium, because that equates to a liver sample for selenium. So that's just a little tip there for sending in an extra serum sample with that liver biopsy. Now this is a sample tube which actually has 2 samples of liver in it. That's ideal. That's really, really good, and the lab would love that. In summary, please send in as much serum as you can, and if possible, 2 tubes if you've got only a little bit. As I said before, if you've only got a little bit of liver, then send in another sample in the same tube, and then we can supply the best results for you. If you have any questions, please ring our 0800 number. It's 0800 838 522. And that's the end of my talk, and I hope that was useful information for you to collect those samples for trace element and possibly disease testing at our labs. Thank you for your time.